Son las 5 de la tarde en punto, hora del centro del país en México. Estamos a punto de comenzar con nuestro último seminario de este Summit SalesUp. Esta es la primera llamada. Primera llamada. Por favor, mientras vayamos platicando desde dónde se conectan, quiero saludarlos, conocer quiénes se han conectado a todas las sesiones, cuántas ponencias escucharon. Me gustaría ir conversando con ustedes antes de dar inicio. Nos van saludando. ¿Cómo están? Mucho gusto. Nancy, ¿cómo estás, Nancy? Un placer. Acel, Manuel, ¿cómo están todos? Ya nos están contestando. Ana, Victoria, Adriana, Víctor, Isela, Manuel. Buenísima. Me da mucho gusto saber que todos se están conectando nuevamente a este último día de seminario. Ya nos queda muy poco tiempo para dar inicio a esta ponencia. Les recuerdo que es muy especial, por lo que es momento de prepararse, ir por donde anotar, un lápiz, una pluma, una hoja, y también prepararnos un café o un vaso con agua. En breve damos inicio, vamos a esperar unos minutos más para comenzar. Les pido nos vayan confirmando si escuchan el audio de forma adecuada y en pantalla pueden ver la presentación con un OK en la parte del chat, por favor. Veo que ya nos van contestando. Eduardo, Paola, ¿cómo están? Adriana, Julián, José Luis. Buenísimo, me alegra que todo esté en orden, que puedan escucharnos fuerte y que puedan ver la pantalla de forma adecuada. En unos minutos más comenzamos. Voy leyendo muchos nombres que se han conectado a diferentes sesiones. Qué alegría poder estar con ustedes otra vez, acompañándolos en esta tarde. Gonzalo, Gabriela, José, Luis. Me parece que algunos ya llevan récord de sesiones conectados. Perfecto. Cuéntenos desde qué país se están conectando, desde qué ciudad, para que podamos saludarlos más adelante. Todas las sesiones nos comentan. Felipe, ¿cómo estás? Perfecto, vamos a dar paso en unos momentos más. Esta es nuestra segunda llamada. Estamos muy próximos a comenzar con esta ponencia. Les recuerdo que es muy importante que puedan seguirnos en nuestro canal de YouTube y en todas nuestras redes sociales para que puedan seguir viendo y disfrutando de los materiales que hemos tenido en estas ponencias. Adicional, les recuerdo que al finalizar estas sesiones les vamos a hacer llegar todo el material por correo electrónico. Solo es necesario que todos estén registrados para recibir este material. Seguimos saludando, Ricardo, Rodrigo, Fernando, ¿cómo están? Un placer seguir contando con su presencia. Cuéntanos de qué empresa nos visitan para conocerlos un poco más. Ya casi estamos listos para iniciar. ¿Cómo se encuentran ustedes? ¿Están ansiosos, nerviosos, entusiasmados? Que nos platiquen cuáles son las expectativas que tienen de esta ponencia que vamos a tener con nosotros. Karina, ¿cómo estás, Karina? Un gusto saludarte. Nancy, Rosa. Qué alegría contar con ustedes, ver que están conectados. Desde Inedity nos comentan también una empresa que está con nosotros colaborando. Nadgas, perfecto. Qué alegría. Tenemos inmobiliaria también. Silvia, ¿cómo estás, Silvia? Karina. Perfecto, estén preparados, vamos a iniciar en breve. Recuerden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales, suscribirse a nuestro canal de YouTube, es muy sencillo, solo tienen que dar un clic en la campana y con eso van a recibir información cuando tengamos material nuevo. Nuestra tercera llamada. Ahora sí, estamos listos para arrancar con este último seminario de todo este summit que hemos tenido. Hemos sido partícipes de 20 seminarios con 20 expertos. Hoy vamos a concluir y no es la excepción, tenemos con nosotros a una gran persona. Les recuerdo que para nosotros es muy importante que todos puedan expresar sus dudas para que el ponente más adelante pueda dar respuesta. Para eso tenemos dos opciones. Si estamos viendo esta sesión desde YouTube, les invito a utilizar el menú flotante del lado derecho que dice chat para poner todas sus preguntas. En dado caso, estar viendo esta sesión desde Zoom, los invito a utilizar en el menú inferior la opción de preguntas y respuestas. Es importante utilizar la opción de preguntas y respuestas para que podamos leerlas al final de la ponencia. Ahora sí, sin más detalles, vamos a dar inicio a esta ponencia y para eso los voy a dejar con dos personas extraordinarias. Con nosotros va a estar Angélica Frías, directora comercial de SalesUp, y también va a estar Hailey Mullen, socia de Jordan Belfort Company Training Latinoamérica. Por favor, nos escuchan fuerte y claro, Angélica, Hailey, buenas tardes, ¿cómo están?
Perfecto, fuerte y claro. Vamos a darle unos minutitos más. Hailey también ya anda por ahí. Bienvenida, Hailey. Un gusto que estés con nosotros.
Gracias.
Bienvenidos a este cierre de película que hemos preparado para todos nuestros clientes, nuestros amigos en SalesUp. La verdad estamos muy contentos porque es el primer Summit online de SalesUp y no cabe duda que juntos estamos haciendo historia. Más de 2,000 entrenamientos entregados y ejecutados por todos nosotros. No cabe duda que Latinoamérica es más fuerte cuando estamos unidos y conectados todos juntos. Quiero agradecer a las personas que se han conectado de diferentes países: Argentina, Ecuador, España, Estados Unidos, Chile, Colombia, Guatemala, México, Perú, Paraguay, Venezuela. Es un gusto que estén con nosotros. SalesUp CRM es una empresa de vendedores para vendedores, que creemos que debemos profesionalizarnos todos nosotros en esta profesión que nos ha dado y nos da a todos nosotros la oportunidad de desarrollarnos todos los días. Le doy la bienvenida a Hailey. Hailey, bienvenida.
Thanks, Angelica. To those of you listening in English, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar with the one and only Jordan Belfort, the real Wolf of Wall Street. Hosting this event is Angelica, myself, Jordan's partner and director in Latin America. And thanks to all of the SalesUp staff to help me host this event. Congratulations on you guys listening for making the time to be part of this. Jordan's teachings and experience are more relevant than ever in today's uncertain climate, where we all face new challenges. Today, Jordan will share with you important techniques and strategies that made him the most famous and the most successful sales trainer the world has ever seen. Then, after losing everything and starting at zero, he again applied his unique knowledge to again build the business empire he runs today. These lessons will be critical for rebuilding ourselves after the crisis of today. The depth of Jordan's teachings can't possibly be fully explored in an hour. So also, as a surprise and a gift to all of you listening right now, he will be sending you an ebook as a courtesy to each person, and also a strategy call direct from his office so everybody can achieve their goals. Thanks, Angelica. Back to you.
Thank you, Hailey. Como bien lo dice Hailey, estamos viviendo un momento histórico y qué mejor aprender de una persona que en algún momento de su vida prácticamente lo perdió todo y volvió a construir una empresa millonaria en todo lo que tiene que ver con entrenamiento en ventas. Vamos a ver varias técnicas que nos permitirán a nosotros seguirnos preparando. Es clave el entrenamiento en nuestras fuerzas de ventas y, por supuesto, vamos a conocer sobre las extraordinarias herramientas que Jordan ha desarrollado. Estamos ya a punto de iniciar. Para los que están en Zoom, les voy a platicar algo. Gracias a que la audiencia ha sido muy grande, la dividimos. Hay gente que actualmente está conectada en Zoom y también tenemos gente en YouTube, a los cuales les agradecemos mucho que estén con nosotros. Si estás en Zoom, vamos a activar una herramienta que es una herramienta de interpretación que va a estar a cargo de Jorge Díaz, que está desde Monterrey y que es justo parte del equipo de Jordan. Bienvenido, Jorge. Si quieres, abre cámara, salúdanos a todos. Y para los que están en YouTube, no se preocupen, lo van a ver ahorita en inglés, completa toda la ponencia y después vamos a ponerle los subtítulos. Las preguntas las podrán hacer en español y con la ayuda de Jorge más adelante podrán ser traducidas. Bienvenidos nuevamente, Hailey. Por favor, ahora sí, haznos la introducción final.
Well, I am thrilled to introduce to you the man himself, Jordan Belfort.
All right, here I am. Hola a todos, soy Jordan Belfort, el verdadero Lobo de Wall Street, y estoy muy emocionado de ser parte de este webinar de SalesUp, y más aún que estoy trayendo al mundo de habla hispana las importantes lecciones que compartiré hoy con ustedes. América Latina es siempre mi lugar favorito a donde viajar. Me encanta la gente y aparte tengo muchos seguidores. Por eso me alegra tanto que puedo ofrecer mis cursos en español. Empecemos. Ahora espero, I wish I could do all of this in Spanish, but you know, I do have a Spanish girlfriend from Argentina who I met in Mexico. I love her very much. And it's because of her that about 2 or 3 months ago, I learned how to speak Spanish. And while I understand basically everything now, I can't speak it to you in a way that would allow me to really give you the knowledge that I want to give you today, the skill sets, the mindset, and just really, you know, my experience in how you, number one, you know, come back from adversity, because that's a big thing right now, right? You know, we've just all been through a very challenging time. And I want to assure you that no matter where you are right now, no matter how far you've fallen on the totem pole here financially, no matter what's happened, all right, you guys cannot do, you guys got to go, all right? You can't walk back and forth. I got my team here walking in front of my field of vision, sorry, right? All right, no matter how far you've fallen on the totem pole here in business, in life, whatever it might be, there is a way back. And also there is a set of strategies that you can use that will really allow you to almost slingshot, meaning to really propel you in a rapid rate from where you are right now to a level that maybe you never even thought yourself was capable of achieving. And let me explain what I mean by that. You know, people always ask me, you know, how was I able to do what I do? How was I able to come back? How was I able to come back from that level of, you know, failure where I lost everything? How did I do that? How was I able to do that? Okay, because, you know, it was so negative, it was so terrible. It was so terrible that I literally had lost everything, and I was, smeared and vilified in the press, and just basically most people would use that as an opportunity to quit, to give up. Yet somehow, you know, I was able to emerge from actually spending time in prison to this place that was like literally, you know, greater, more money, more, you know, more prestige than I ever been to in the past. And I did it almost what would seem like that, very, very fast, happened very, very quickly. So how did I do that? And I think it's, you know, more appropriate today than ever because of what we've just all been through. And depending on what's happening right now in Mexico, you know, what you're still going through, and we're still going through it here as well. But thankfully, it seems like we're on the back end of it. And now it's time for everyone to basically, you know, roll up their sleeves and get back to work, so to speak. But let me just give you this. I want to give you a take, an understanding about what happens when people fail, when people take a so-called nosedive on down the ladder of success. You know, it's almost like, you know, when you fail, when you have a setback and everything gets so bad that it's like stretching a rubber band. It's artificially stretching a rubber band. So it's just so much, you're so far to the negative. You're so far stretched to one side. Well, guess what? When you stretch something that much and you're pulling on it and pulling on it, guess what? That represents a lot of stored energy. In other words, it's an exaggerated amount of negativity right now, where there's massive unemployment, much greater poverty, much greater emotional uncertainty. All this negativity, while it is indeed terrible, what it really does, though, it creates this almost like it's stored energy. That think about it, what actually happens when you let go of that rubber band that's been stretched? It shoots back the other way. It's not a natural, it doesn't slowly go back to center. No, when you stretch something one way to the negative that much, it will bounce back violently. The trick to this whole thing, what you really need to understand here is, how do you get that rubber band to release? How do you start that process of coming back from this artificially negative spot? Because once you get that momentum, that release point, then the physical laws of the universe, they almost take care of themselves, and they cause you basically to shoot back the other way to massive success. So that's one of the things I want to discuss here with, is how you get that process going. Now, obviously, not everybody here on this call is in, bad financial shape. Not everybody is taking the same level of fall because of what's happening with the coronavirus, COVID-19, right? I'm sure there's many people on this call that maybe you have taken some sort of setback with your business or your job, but you're still doing okay. Things are not that terrible. But, you've taken maybe, there's been some contraction to your business right now, and maybe you've had to dip into your savings, but it's not the end of the world, right? And there's many of you in that case too. Well, I want to tell you that the same lessons that I teach for coming back from extreme failure, they apply to anybody, even if you haven't failed. In other words, even if you're still doing okay, you can use these same techniques to literally propel yourself to an even greater level of success. And then, of course, I'm sure there's a few people on this call, probably not many, but there's some on this call that partially by luck and partially because they were very careful planners, they were already positioned to take advantage of what happened right now. They were in a certain space, meaning in a certain business line of work that, in fact, this lockdown, this global pandemic has actually allowed them to make even more money. And I repeat, in some cases, it could be sheer dumb luck, like you just happened to be in the right business, or some of you might have always, suspected that one day something might happen and you wanted to hedge your bets, right? Now, in my case, I want to tell you, frankly, where I am. I'm in that very fortunate group of people that is actually doing even better now during this coronavirus disaster than I was before. And that might seem strange to you when you first think about it, because you're like, wait a second, doesn't Jordan fly around the world and give speeches in person, right? That's what I do. I do corporate trainings. I go everywhere, face to face, right? So hasn't that business been hurt? Haven't I made less money in that department? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. Of course, my business of live events and in-person training has collapsed. The good news is that I actually have tomorrow my first job since this whole thing happened. So tomorrow I fly to Texas, because Texas is the first state that's opened up here, Texas and Georgia. I immediately got booked in Texas. So tomorrow I fly to Texas for a one-day consulting job, and I get paid. I'll tell you what, Reddy, so I'll tell you how lucky you are. You got this for free, I think. But on Wednesday, I'm getting paid $75,000 for 8 hours of private consulting. That's what I normally get paid when I show up to people's offices and businesses in person. And the reason they pay me that much is because I get them results, especially now when there's been a lot of adversity, because I'm an expert or specialist, so to speak, at coming back from that. So the reason I brought up that I got booked again is because it's starting. Like the world is thawing. So, if you're, on the precipice here and you're worried, just remember it's, the brighter times are around the corner. I want to show you of that. Okay. And also, so the answer, but regardless of that, yes, I did, my live events business got hurt. However, about 2 years ago, I began pivoting. I began making a large investment of time and money in an online learning platform that took my core system, my famous system around the world, straight line sales and persuasion. And what I did is I put this on an interactive training platform that is very robust with lots of bells and whistles and add-ons. And I updated the curriculum. And what happened was, essentially, by using this platform, this interactive platform, I was able to actually close the results gap between in-person training and online training. In other words, in the past, when I would teach people face-to-face in person, you get a much better result. And when people would try to learn online, they'd still get a good result, no doubt, but not quite as extraordinary. Well, about 2 years ago, I made this huge investment in technology and time and redoing my system so I can get those same incredible results that I used to get from live training. Now I can get them online. So about a year ago, I launched that and developed a very large following from businesses, individuals. So what happened to me with the coronavirus is that when this hit and my live events business shut down, well, guess what? Everyone was at home. And all of a sudden, my online learning business shot up and more than quadrupled since before the lockdown. So for me, it enabled me to actually make even more money than before. And was it dumb luck or was it brilliance? It was more dumb luck. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't like I had this brilliant vision, like I'm going to go into online training because, you know, there's going to be a pandemic one day or the world's not into that. But in truth, though, it was more a combination of that. As just, you know, a smart businessman, I believe that the future of education is online. I believe it's easier to learn that way. And as you'll see, even the courses that I'm sending you for free, because Haley and the team here, you know, they asked me to give away some free stuff to you. So you'll see now with the way the pivot that I made last year, you'll notice even with the ebook I sent you and everything else, you'll notice the format of the training here and really what that leads up to as you keep going through other programs that I teach you, to higher levels of expertise. You'll notice that you have the ability to get these almost immediate results with the system I teach, the straight line here, and you'll be able to implement this in your own lives straight away, both in your businesses and as salespeople. And the reason I say that as in your businesses and as salespeople is because they're very different things. In other words, you know, what we think of here in terms of persuasion and sales is that, oh, well, you know, if I'm a salesperson, I need to learn how to sell. I have to close. I have to know how to basically, you know, capture someone's attention, how to get into rapport with someone, identify their needs, make sure I stay in rapport as I'm doing that. How do I transition to make my presentation? How do I overcome objections? And how do I ultimately close the deal? That's just, you know, the function of sales. And the system I teach, as I'm sure many of you probably have used it before because it's the gold standard around the world and it works like incredibly well. That system is like manna from heaven to a salesperson. It just is. And it's life changing. So if you haven't studied it yet, I urge you, please take this free training I'm giving you, because once you see the power of the straight line system, the way it literally can change your life, I mean, you're gonna be shocked. You say, how did I ever go out there and try to sell without knowing these things? There's just some very simple things I teach that work like that. Like, you know, it doesn't take a long time. You learn them immediately and you get these incredible results. So you're gonna see that. On the business side, this is where I see one of the biggest misses in the corporate world, not just with success in general, is that people think that sales is for salespeople, but nothing is just that. It's nothing to be further from the truth. It's not just for salespeople. The ability to close, to get your point across, to communicate effectively is for everybody. I don't care what line of work you're in, whether it's business or personal, you need to learn how to get your point across to other people in a way that connects with them, in a way that gets them to take the action that you want them to take, so then they can get what they want too. That's what ethical persuasion is all about. And without possessing that skill, it is really, really hard to get ahead in this world. It's just really, really hard. I'm not saying you can't. Listen, you know, there's some people, and there's maybe one or two of you on here where you're a member of what I call the lucky sperm club, right? Where you were just born into the right family and you never have to worry about money your whole life. So there's those people. Then there's others that get lucky and they just hit the lottery or something, right? They don't have to actually work for a living. But for the rest of us, for all the rest of us, we need to possess this skill set to be able to essentially get our point across, to communicate what we have so that people can see the value in it. I'll repeat that. to communicate what we have to offer so people can see the value in it, so they're willing to part with their hard-earned money to get it. You understand that? Like it's about how certain someone is that what you're offering them, the idea, the product, the service, the thesis of it, that it makes perfect sense. They're certain that it makes sense. And when you get someone to that level of certainty, well, then you have an excellent shot of closing them. Now, there are other things that need to line up in that equation, but I'm going to get to that a bit later here in terms of the core elements of persuasion. What I want to do right now, I just want to just the point I'm making here is that sales, persuasion, influence, negotiation, it's not just a skill required for salesmen. It's a skill required by everybody. And just so you know, in a post-COVID-19 world, what you have here is the necessity to master the art of distance persuasion, of distance selling, distance closing, distance negotiating, distance communication, getting your point across, not in person, face to face, but over the phone, like this. And that's a very different thing than selling face to face, where you can rely on certain types of body language and charisma to make up for certain deficits you might have in your ability to communicate through words and tonality. And as well, there is some face-to-face, body language. However, right now, the current crop, a generation of cameras that we use to communicate online, they're not constructed very well. Because if I want to look you in the eye, I have to look in the green dot, but then I can't see your expression. If I look at you below, I'm not looking you in the eye. So there's sort of a disconnect here, and it's very easy to break rapport when you're trying to sell someone over a Zoom call or Skype. But of course, the good news is, and this is what's ironic, by the way, is that the system itself, the straight line, was specifically designed for distance closing. That's what it was designed for. I created the straight line in response to a problem I was having, where we were trying to call people by phone who lived on the other side of the country. I was in New York. They were all over in Texas, California, wherever, right? We were calling these people, the wealthiest 1% of Americans, and trying to get them to invest $1 million sometimes, like massive money, $1 million with a person they never met before, with a company they never had met before, a brokerage they never met before, into a stock they never heard of before. Seems almost impossible, right? How could you get someone you never met, who doesn't know yet the company you work for or the stock you're recommending, to invest $1 million or $2 million with you? It turned out to be basically impossible until I invented the straight line. Once I invented the straight line, it changed everything. And I was able to take all these young kids, average age 20, average IQ, Forrest Gump on 3 hits of acid. They were not the sharpest tools in the shed. Average level of education, high school level. They did not come from wealthy families. They didn't come from backgrounds where they were told by their parents they were capable of greatness. And any greatness that these kids naturally had in them had been basically beaten out of them since almost the day they were born. First by their parents, then by their school teachers, by their own friends, by the news media, by their wives and husbands, by their former employers, that by the time they arrived in the boardroom of Stratton Oakmont, which was my company, by the time they arrived there, they had been conditioned to survive, not thrive. But none of that mattered anymore. Once I invented the straight line system, they started calling it the great equalizer. The great equalizer. Because what the straight line would do, it would make someone who is not a particularly good salesperson, not a born closer, who is not particularly well educated, and who had never succeeded before at anything, they would become successful as the most successful CEO in corporate America. That's how effective the system was. Now, the mistake I made was the system was almost too effective. I began printing these freshly minted millionaires who at 20 years old, it was happening so fast that all these kids, they were able to almost leapfrog, to skip over the typical life struggles that most people go through that serve to build their character. In essence, it became success without respect, money without restraint, power without responsibility. And just like that, it began spiraling out of control. And what had been this incredible invention, this straight line system, which gave any human being the ability to become rich, it just took this bad turn, it did, and the ethics were lost, and the rest, as they say, is history. You probably all saw it in the movie, that I lost everything, my money, my pride, my self-respect, my children for a time, and I ended up in jail. I even lost my freedom. But of course, the story doesn't end there. I mean, how could it? How could a system like that, how could the straight line system that created so many millionaires, that helped so many people, anyone that would take the time to learn its secrets, how could something like that fade away into obscurity? Well, obviously it couldn't, and it didn't. So it started, this resurgence started in the mid-90s when kids that had worked for me took fragments of the system, these watered down, diluted versions of the system, and began using it in new businesses and teaching it to people that they met. And no matter how watered down their version was, no matter how diluted, even this much of it was enough to take anybody and turn them into a solid salesperson, a solid producer. And then about 10 years later, on the heels of 2 best-selling books, a major runaway movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, I got involved and began teaching a full-strength, undiluted version around the world, from Main Street to Wall Street, all over the world and everywhere in between. And the results that I got this time around were even more miraculous than the last. And the reason for that is I spent time, about 2 years, going through the system line by line through its code, updating it, making it more proficient, making sure it applied to every industry. And what emerged in its place by all this extra work I did was a system of influence that was so powerful that any human being could use it and become a top producer, a top entrepreneur in a matter of weeks. It was that incredible, right? Now, interestingly enough, when I first began teaching this around the world, I noticed something very strange. Take a sip of my Red Bull, yeah? And that was that when I taught the system myself to people in the 90s and in my area here, right, where I actually would supervise my own people, my success rate was 100% or close to it. Everybody would master the system and go on to great riches. Yet when I went around the world the first time and started teaching it, I noticed that when I would come back a year later, only half the people would really succeed with the system and the other half didn't. And that baffled me because, you know, I know the system works for anybody. So why are these people not succeeding? What's holding them back? And ultimately, I came to figure out that what happened is that when I made this first pass around the world in 2009, 2010, 2011, I was purely teaching the tactics and strategies of the straight line system. I was teaching the outer world strategies of how you actually physically close someone. What do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? I was outer world. What I wasn't focusing on was the inner world, the mindset of success, the mindset of a salesperson that thrives, not survives. I was only focusing on the real world strategies. Yet for the people that were here working for me, they were getting both because every single day I was doing a training. So by default, I would also talk about all of the inner game stuff as well. The mindset of success, what you need to have up here to be a successful salesperson. So that inspired me to change the way I was teaching. This is about maybe 7 years ago. And I went back, actually 12 years ago, I went back a second time. No, it's actually 10 years ago. Now I'm doing the math, right? It was 10 years ago. I went back again, except this time I taught the inner game of selling and entrepreneurship as well. And of course, the way I expected it, the results soared and literally everybody would get that same incredible result. Everybody, except those that were too lazy to actually even try. So what I'm leading up to here is a very profound statement I'm about to make here. And it has everything to do with what I started with how do you come back from failure? How do you create that rubber band, that trigger effect where you go shooting back to massive success? And what it has to do with is understanding this overarching rule that dictates all achievement, not just in sales, but in life. It's a rule that all wealthy people have figured out on their own, by the way, whether they know it or not, they follow these rules. And essentially the whole thing is based on the laws of the universe. It is. And I'm not talking about The Secret and the law of attraction. It's not what I'm saying. You know, law of attraction says, if you want to get rich, go sit in your living room and, you know, pray to the gods and imagine money showing up in your mailbox and visualize that money showing up. And if you think long enough and hard enough and you really meditate and you put that out into the ether, yes, a check for $100,000 will show up in your mailbox. I mean, what a load of shit that is, honestly. If that's your strategy for success, the only thing that will show up in your mailbox is an eviction notice. They'll be towing you away from your car for a lack of payment. Your wife or husband ran over the next door neighbor and you're saying, where's my check? Where's my check? It doesn't work, right? But there is a law of attraction. There is, but it doesn't work the way they explain in The Secret. The way it does work is part of a much bigger picture. And let me explain what it is. We live in a world of what I call duality. The word again is duality, meaning there are two sides to every coin. Mirror images. If you have up, you have down. You have heads, you have tails. If you have yes, that means you have no. You have over, you have underneath. Above, below. Black, white, even the digital world that's allowing us to communicate right now as I speak, you have 1 and you have 0. We live in a world of duality, meaning there's two sides to every coin. So let me ask you a question. Now think this through for a second. If we live in a world of duality, and there are always two sides to every coin, so to speak, why would the achievement of success, why would becoming wealthy be any different? It can't be. it has to follow that same rule, that same law. And in fact, it does. So when it comes to achieving success in life, when it comes to becoming wealthy, there are two worlds that we have to reconcile. And they're basically they're mirror images of each other. You have what's called the inner world of success, which represents your success mindset. What happens right up here between your ears before you ever go out into the world and take action. And then on the other side of the equation, you have the outer world of success, meaning the real world strategies, the tactics, the strategies, the processes, the tools that we use to actually take what we have up here and turn it into a reality. In other words, when we talk about manifesting success, creating success, attracting wealth, what you're really saying is that you start up here and you visualize where you want to go. You imagine this better life, right? That's your mindset. You set it up by what's in here. And then it's the physical actions that we take, how we move through the real world that allows us to take what's up here and turn that into a reality. So in other words, there are these two distinct worlds, inner, outer. And each of those worlds has number four, four competencies that you must master to really essentially own that world. So there's four competencies on the inner world of success, four competencies on the outer world. If you master all eight, guess what? The money comes pouring in. Let me explain. The first competency, this first pillar of success on the inner world is called state management. The ability to manage your physiological, emotional state of mind. In other words, can you get yourself into a positive state in the moment? It's how you feel right now. And there are certain states that lead people to massive success. Those states are certainty, clarity, courage, confidence. Call those the 4 C's. And on the flip side of the equation, there are certain states that lead you to massive failure and feeling alone, like uncertainty, fear, overwhelm. Get it? If you're feeling uncertain, overwhelmed, and fearful, good luck trying to be successful. You can't access, when you're in those disempowered states, you can't access all the wonderful resources, the learnings, the tools that you have. You're blocked because you're in a negative state of mind. So what we must learn to do to become successful is we must learn how to trigger those, we call them empowered states, the 4 C's: certainty, confidence, courage, clarity. We must learn to trigger those states. Now, what I'm not talking about is walking around all day long in a state of inflated, artificial, absolute certainty. I don't mean that. What do you call someone who walks around all day long with their chest puffed out and their shoulders pulled back, talking certain, acting certain? What do you call them? We call them an asshole, right? You don't want to be that person, right? So I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about learning how to trigger that empowered state at the key moments when it matters most. Like when you're picking up the phone, knocking on a door, entering a business meeting. That's what I mean, not always. So number 1 is the ability to manage your state. Number 2, the second pillar of the inner game of mindset is your belief systems. There are certain beliefs that you have that lead you to massive success. And then there are other sets of beliefs that we have that lead people to massive failure and feeling alone and disconnected. We call those positive states the empowering beliefs. And we call the negative states limiting beliefs. And as a success-oriented person, you must go about rooting out these limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering ones. Examples are that, money is difficult to make. That's a belief. If I get rich, I'll become greedy. Or the world happens to me. I'm a creature of circumstance. It's not my fault, right? No es mi culpa. No es tu culpa. Es la culpa del mundo. It's everyone's fault, pero the gobierno culpa, right? Pero no es mi culpa. That mentality is a surefire road, a guide to disaster, okay? So again, there are certain beliefs that lead people to success, like I am a creator of circumstance, I make my own way, and those that lead people to failure, I'm a creature of circumstance, the world happens to me. So we must learn how to root out those limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering beliefs. And it's actually very easy to do. Next, third competency, third pillar of success on the inner game, what we call vision focus, meaning how do you create what I call a fully integrated vision for your future? How do you create this vision that includes not just where you want to go in life, but also why it matters to you? We call that a fully integrated vision for the future. And the second aspect, vision focus, is how do you train yourself to focus on that vision in such a way that you can stay laser guided on it, but you don't end up having tunnel vision, meaning you're constantly scanning the horizon for other opportunities that come up along the way. In fact, it's exactly what I was talking about when I was saying that I pivoted. I kept pivoting. No matter how focused I am where I want to go, I'm always looking for other opportunities to integrate into my vision. My vision is not stagnant. It's this living, breathing organism that changes, grows, gets better and better, right? Vision focus. And then the fourth element of this so-called inner world, inner game of success is your standards, your personal standard for success. Is what level of success, what amount of money must you make? What will you not settle for less than? Versus what amount of money should you make? What would you like to happen versus what must happen? That must, that financial must. What is that number for you? What is that level of success that you simply will not settle for less than? That's called your standard. People with high standards, your standard serves as that long-term barometer of where you're going to end up, because you simply won't stop working, won't stop trying to get rich until you hit that standard. People with low standards, well, guess what? They give up easily. So those four things, state management, your belief systems, vision focus, standards, those are the four pillars of the inner world of success. And what those do is that's your collectively, it's your mindset, your vision for the future, your goals, where you want to go, the ability to stay positive, to keep yourself believing in having the right belief systems and so forth, sets you up to then go into the outer world of success. Now, on the outer side of the equation, the outer world, we again have these four pillars. Number one, the first one is, I call it the rules and strategies of business and entrepreneurship. In other words, business has rules. And if you don't obey those rules, you're going to end up feeling massive pain. Bottom line. Let me repeat that. Business has rules. And if you don't know the rules or don't follow them, even though you do know them, and even I'm guilty of that, by the way, you'll end up feeling massive pain. I divide this idea of entrepreneurship into two categories. On one side, I call it learning how to fail elegantly. How do you go into business and be wrong? How do you be wrong? Not every idea you're going to try is going to work out. How do you test something out? And when you're wrong, minimize on the amount of money you lose, on the amount of time you lose, and then pivot and set yourself up to try again. How do you fail elegantly? And on the flip side of that, how do you succeed wildly? When you test an idea and it starts working, how do you take a small mom and pop business and begin to scale and grow? How do you take that small business and make it into a large business and then eventually make it into a national and multinational corporation? How do you do that? Business has rules. You got to know those rules. Now that's overall business. Second pillar of the inner game is called marketing, meaning how do you go out there and find the right prospective buyers, people who need your product, want your product, can afford your product? How do you find them in a cost-effective way, bring them into your sales funnel so you can then close them? Now that next part is the third pillar, so you can close them. Selling. On the marketing side, you have both offline marketing, which is your traditional marketing on TV, radio, mail campaigns, door knocking, telephone. That's offline. Then you have the online world. Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, all the different social and non-social online marketing techniques. So that's the marketing side. And the purpose of marketing is to bring the right people into your sales funnel. And then we get to that next step, number 3, which is on the 3 in the outer game, which is how do you close them? How do you convince someone who might want your product, they're right for it? How do you get them to say yes, sign on the dotted line, and send you money? That's sales. And that's, by the way, what I teach people all over the world more than anyone. And it's the single most important distinction, bar none, to close the deal. You got to learn that. It's a required course, right? And then last but not least, number 4 here is something I call MSIs, multiple streams of income. Meaning once you start making money, how do you take that money and put it to work for you so you can make even more money? Multiple streams, things like real estate investing, currency trading, stock market, all the different ways, multi-level marketing opportunities, all these other opportunities to make second sources of income. How do you put your money? So here's my point. When you possess all 8 of those skills, you can't help but succeed. And when you possess those skills and you're in that situation, that rubber band is all the way stretched out, stretched all the way back, but you still possess those skills, that when that release happens, you will go soaring to success at levels you never even imagined. That's the way it worked. For me, for people I've mentored all over the world, that's the way it will work for you, bottom line. So in essence, getting back to this idea now, because I want to close out here with some actual sales training here. And then I think maybe we'll have a little bit of a Q&A here, but I want to give you a few minutes here of sales training. I very quickly mentioned about this idea that sales is about certainty, that, you have to get the prospect absolutely certain. And what you're doing when you close someone, when you sell someone, is you're essentially transferring the certainty that you have inside you that essentially makes you so sure that you're right, that what you have is awesome. How do you transfer that to another person? But let's say you do that. Let's just say that after you've given your presentation, you're selling any product. And when you're done with your presentation, that prospect who you're trying to close, you have them at a state of absolute certainty about your product. So imagine a 1 means they hate it, they're uncertain. 10, they're absolutely certain. If you get into an absolute 10, they're totally certain that your product is the best thing since sliced bread, best value proposition, best cost benefit ratio. Will they buy from you? If they're absolutely certain your product is the best, will they? Now, when I ask this question publicly, all the hands shoot up. They say yes. But in reality, the answer is not yes, and it's not no. It's maybe. In other words, what if in the process of making someone certain, you said something or did something that pissed them off, made them not trust you? People don't buy from those they don't trust. They just don't. They'll go buy it. So they like it that much, they'll say, oh, great, let me think about it, and they'll go buy from someone else. And for that matter, what if when you're done presenting, they don't trust the company that you work for, that stands behind the product? In other words, it's not enough that they just love the product. That's the first of the 3 core elements. They must also trust and connect with you, the salesperson. And number 3, they must trust and connect with the company that stands behind the product. What you do when you are using the straight line system, what you're doing is you move someone from the open to the close. You're essentially getting them to a 10, 10, 10, meaning 10, they love the product. That's the first 10. Second 10, they love and trust and connect with you. Third 10, they trust and connect with the company. You're going to get to 10, 10, 10 and ask for the order. And if you do that correctly, you have an excellent chance of closing them. And if one of those is missing, you have virtually no chance at all. Now, for all of you who are listening, I'm giving you this free training, ebook and something else. I want you to go through this very diligently because it goes through all of these different things I'm talking about here and puts you on the path to being able to use this in your own life. And I promise you one thing, when you are able to access this skill set, the straight line, your past will not equal your future. It does not have to. You can achieve things you never thought you were capable of. You can get to levels of success you never dreamed of. And it's not that hard. It requires hard work. But my guess is that all of you who are listening to this call, you're probably already working hard right now, but you're not always working smart. The idea, what I do and what Haley has done, by the way. So Haley does speak fluent Spanish. My Spanish is pretty good, but not good enough to converse with you in Spanish. It's boyfriend, girlfriend Spanish. We call it Spanglish here, right? But what Haley has done is Haley has got me to translate my courses into Spanish. And right now you're all getting the benefit of that because you're about to get this free ebook. And then Haley will, I'm sure, set up a free coaching call for you to really help everyone who's on this call to make sure that you can use this technology I have, the straight line, to literally take your life to an entirely different level, one that you never even thought possible. So with that, Haley, I'd like to open up to some questions maybe.
Hi, Jordan. Yes, we are ready. Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions. I'm going to tell you in Spanish, and then Jorge is going to help us. ¿Okay? Ok. Tenemos 10 personas preguntando si nos puedes dar un resumen de las 4 formas de mejorar nuestro juego interno, nuestro inner game.
Okay. So Jorge, so we said you have 10 people asking about the inner game of success. What about it?
Exactly. Yes.
What's the second part? Can we say the second part again? The second half?
The second half is like in a short way, how can we understand it? ¿Cómo lo podemos entender?
Sure, yeah. And at the end, it's in a game of success, basically.
Yeah, exactly. The game of success.
Yeah, sure. So in other words, it's interesting. So one of the things I go through in this ebook that you're getting, and they'll help you on this coaching call, is there's certain strategies that I teach. Each one of these pillars comes with its own turnkey solution of how you can apply this in your own life. For example, in the case of state management, we use a process called olfactory anchoring. It's a scientific process that actually helps you trigger a peak state. When it comes to belief change, we use a psychological process where we actually do what's called timeline regressions. We help you actually crack your beliefs and overcome them and replace them with positive ones. For the vision focus, we actually have you write out a vision statement using a template, very specific template, and learn how to integrate your why success matters to you, why you want to achieve it. Also, how you properly set your goals and how those goals lead up to your vision. And lastly, we do what's called the standards check to make sure that your standards is congruent with your vision. Those two have to be aligned. And by doing that, you can really master that inner world very, very quickly.
Perfect. Jorge Caballero, el negocio de los eventos están en una situación complicada. Las ventas están más lentas.
Entiendo.
Yes. So, ¿qué podemos hacer? What can I do?
So, wow, my Spanish is really good. I understand every word.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, as I said, my live events business right now has been shattered, right? What I'm doing, just so you know, is I focused on doing online trainings and growing my list and delaying my gratification. So I'm doing now, I've also instituted a lot of Skype and Zoom-based consulting. And I'm using a different pricing structure for that. But if you're in the live events business only, you must also pivot into online education. You need to take what you're doing and you have to balance it out, my friend, because it's going to be a little bit of time till it fully comes back. It will come back, but it's going to be a bit of time. Balance it out by going online and start getting yourself out there on camera.
Perfect. Thank you. David Posada, estoy leyendo tu libro, Camino del Lobo. Yo trabajo con criptomonedas, trendings and forex y todavía no entiendo muy bien el sistema de línea recta para persuasión. ¿Por qué no puedo cerrar las ventas que hoy en día estoy tratando de implementar?
How to implement it in that industry, he wants to know?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it was designed, just so you understand, so the straight line, Línea Recta, it was originally designed for the financial services industry. So, so whether you say you're doing currency trading, you're doing cryptocurrency, I understand, right? You've read the book, you've read the Línea Recta, right? I understand. And it's a fabulous book. It was designed for this. Remember, I think part of the, and this is why the coaching call with Haley's team is so important, because one of the keys with the straight line is the question is, how do I apply it? What parts of my business is it going to give me the biggest bang for the buck? So what I want you to do is when you get on this coaching call with Haley and her team is go through your business, because we got to do a back, and for me to really help you is to do a back and forth. So they'll do a back and forth and really dig into what your business model is and show you exactly what aspects, what parts of it are best suited for you to use the straight line and get amazing results.
Perfect. Otra pregunta. ¿Cuál es la clave o qué te dices todos los días al despertar para tener esos pensamientos exitosos? ¿Qué te dices a ti mismo, Jordan?
I'm not much, what do I say to myself in the morning? My daily affirmations when I wake up, right? So basically, tengo mucho buena suerte porque, managing my state es fácil por mí. It's very easy for me to manage my state. But a veces cuando, I find myself in a situation where I'm not feeling positive and confident, I will actually, engage in, I use my ability to manage my state. The technique I spoke about before, state management, olfactory anchoring. And I use that in conjunction with affirmations in the morning. And I make sure, and I write out a gratitude journal. I write out, escribiendo, escribiré, okay, cosas que estoy, have gratitude for, okay? And I find that really, really powerful, okay?
Perfecto. Nos pregunta Oscar en YouTube, ¿has trabajado con empresas de logística y has logrado incrementar sus ventas?
Okay. So
have you worked with logistics?
It's my number one. Logistics is my number one industry by far. I train all the biggest logistics companies in the United States. All use the straight line. They all use it. So if you're and in my script build, which I believe Haley has translated to Spanish, there is a script and a whole program for logistics in there. So it's a perfect fit for that.
Perfect. ¿Cuál es la diferencia? Víctor nos pregunta, ¿cuál es la diferencia entre vender en los 90s y ahora en el 2020? ¿Cómo vende distinto?
So I think number one, obviously the online world has changed things somewhat, but remember this. So you still have to sell, vendedores, right? Siempre, okay, necesitamos vendedores, okay? That will never, no cambiar. Pero estoy siempre usando the internet, okay, to get leads, to develop leads. So I believe that using the internet nowadays, you didn't have that in the 90s, right? So the lead generation happens on the internet, but then we use the telephone, especially now when you can't see people as much in person, we use the telephone with great effect. In addition to that, remember this, you can sell on the internet very effectively through video, using the straight line system, but using it on video. So we do that as well. Then also you need to learn how to write straight line emails, straight line text. These are all the things that I go through with advanced training of how you adapt it. But in terms of the actual salespeople are more in demand today than ever.
Perfect. Villa Gómez, ¿cuál es el mejor consejo que puedes dar para los emprendedores? El mejor consejo para emprender o la gente que está emprendiendo un negocio.
So what is the best ways to learn about business? What was the question?
Like entrepreneurs, the people that is entrepreneur, what is your best advice for them?
So, I mean, again, I think, interesante es porque estoy siempre diciendo que empresas necesitamos estar vendedores. The biggest miss I see is that entrepreneurs underestimate just how crucial it is to master the art of persuasion. You must master the art of persuasion. And also this idea of failing elegantly. You must learn how to be wrong, how to test your ideas out. And when you're not right, to pivot and try again, pivot and try again.
Perfecto. ¿Algún consejo para estrategias en redes sociales como Facebook, YouTube? ¿Algo que nos puedas recomendar?
So some things for marketing on Facebook and YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, to me, again, use of video, muy importante. I love using social media. I believe social media is the best way to generate leads and also build up your brand. And along with that is podcasting. I'm not sure how popular podcasting is yet in Mexico, but my guess is that it will be soon if it's not popular. So I'd certainly focus on that as well.
Perfecto. Muy bien. Ángel desde YouTube. Hola, tengo una pregunta. Ahorita que estoy en contingencia, hay un clima de incertidumbre. No sé qué va a pasar. ¿Cómo lograr que alguien quiera invertir en un clima como estos?
So it's, I mean, again, it is a climate of insecurity right now. Yeah. And, again, remember this, what sales really is, it's the transference of the emotion of certainty. You're making someone go from a low level of certainty about your product, good or service, to a very high level of certainty. So right now, what's happening is people are starting off at lower levels of certainty, and they're frightened about spending money, about what the future brings. So you just have to really focus on overcoming that, making a strong, logical case about why your product makes sense, why they should be buying it now. Really focus on creating that logical certainty right now. It's so crucial right now.
Perfecto. La última pregunta, digo, la verdad tenemos muchas preguntas, pero la última que tenemos tiempo es, ¿cuál es tu recomendación para crear una marca personal, para hacer nosotros mismos nuestro producto?
So again, I mean, this is what I believe is the most, in the olden days, you had to really be famous to have a brand, you know, a marca, a brand, you know, it wasn't easy. Now anybody can develop a brand by positioning yourself online. You know, you can write your own ebook, you can have your own podcast, your own YouTube channel, all of these things that you can do to really build up a brand. You know, one of my favorite cartoons I've ever seen was it was a cartoon of a dog, and the dog is sitting at a chair with a computer in front of a computer with his paw on the computer keyboard, saying the best thing about the internet is that no one knows I'm a dog. You know, in other words, you can really use the internet to your advantage here to build up your brand. No one has to know that you don't have really a big brand. You can sort of fake it till you make it.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Ahora les vamos a decir, todos están muy emocionados por obtener el libro. Quieren ese libro, quieren el regalo. Entonces, en este momento, en nuestros chats en YouTube y en Zoom, vamos a pegar los enlaces para que ustedes puedan dejar todos sus datos y así el equipo de Jordan pueda hacerles llegar su regalo. Vale mucho la pena para que podamos aprender y salir renovados y mejorados de esta situación.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Jordan. Te damos las gracias. Vamos nosotros a terminar con un video en unos momentos más, pero sobre todo agradeciéndote a ti, agradeciéndote a los 20 ponentes que estuvieron con nosotros, más de 20,000 entrenamientos entregados, creo, como tú lo dijiste, es la clave. Hay que reentrenarnos y hay que mejorar. Vamos a despedirnos. Voy a abrirle los micrófonos a todos. Hailey, por favor, si puedes abrir tu cámara. Todo el equipo, de los que hemos hecho posible el día de hoy este evento, les pido que habiliten sus cámaras para que justamente unidos, como más lo necesitamos en todo Latinoamérica, estemos aquí presentes. Vamos ya, por ahí si me puedes confirmar si ya pegaron en las redes sociales y vamos a escuchar este video. ¿Estamos listos, Caro?
5,000 personas que hicieron posible este summit.
Quiero agradecer a todos los participantes. Fue muy enriquecedor.
Muchas gracias a todos los asistentes al Summit SalesUp.
Su buena disposición, su tiempo y sus ganas de seguir creciendo y aprendiendo.
Un gusto haber compartido con ustedes el Sales Summit de SalesUp. Abrazo grande para ustedes.
Fue muy enriquecedor para los que estuvimos participando.
Estoy seguro que todos aprendimos cosas nuevas o reforzamos conocimientos.
También quiero agradecer a todo el equipo de SalesUp todo el trabajo que han hecho.
Están staff, ponentes y sobre todo la audiencia. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti por participar y formar parte de Summit SalesUp.
Abrazo grande para ustedes. Abrazo para todos los profesores que han formado parte de este evento.
Muchas gracias a todos de todo corazón.
Estoy seguro que nos veremos en un futuro próximo y mientras tanto, cuídense mucho en casa.
Gracias a ti y desde casa, este Summit fue posible.
Ahora más que nunca. Gracias por participar en el Summit de SalesUp.
Hay que quedarnos en casa, hay que estar todos juntos unidos a través de la tecnología. Muchas gracias nuevamente. Seguiremos creando contenido. Por favor, para recibir su regalo, suscríbanse al link. Tienen que dejarnos sus datos para que el equipo de Hailey pueda hacerles llegar ese regalo. Y más adelante tiene sorpresas para ustedes en la Academia de Jordan. Así es que no lo desaprovechen, inscríbanse y es un gusto que hayan compartido todos estos momentos con nosotros. Gracias a todo el equipo de SalesUp por haberlo hecho posible. Suscríbanse a las redes sociales, a nuestro canal de YouTube.
Gracias.
Bye, bye.
Gracias.
Un abrazo a todos. Gracias por hacerlo posible.